Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are diving deep today into a topic that I know a lot of you have been asking about:
Yeah.
natural cold remedies.
Mhm.
So many people are interested in this, and we've gotten so many requests to dig into this.
Mhm.
And, honestly,
For good reason.
who hasn't been miserable with a cold and wish that there was a better way, a more natural way to deal with it?
Absolutely. I think it's something that everyone is looking for.
Yeah, so we've got some really interesting research to share with you today on a specific natural product.
Okay.
And, because we're not doctors, we're not giving medical advice, but we're going to dive into some of the science and the history and the traditional wisdom behind this.
The evidence?
Yeah, and kind of see what we can learn.
Yeah.
But before we even get into the specifics of this particular approach, I think it's worth just taking a minute to talk about the common cold,
Yeah.
because we all know it.
We all know it.
You know what it is? You get the sniffles, the sore throat, you just feel
One down.
blah.
Yeah.
You just want to crawl into bed.
And it's those rhinoviruses.
Ugh.
They are the main culprit.
It's like we can't escape them.
No, they spread so easily
It's true.
through the air on surfaces everywhere you go.
It feels like it's just inevitable.
It does sometimes.
Like you're going to get at least one or two a year.
Yeah, and that's why I think a lot of people are looking for ways to prevent them and
Mm.
obviously to treat them.
Yeah, so many of us, I think the first thing we do is we reach for that over-the-counter medication.
Right.
What are your thoughts on those kinds of conventional cold medicines?
I mean, I think they definitely have their place. They can offer quick symptom relief, which can be really helpful when you're feeling miserable.
Absolutely.
But, they do come with potential side effects, and there's also the risk of overuse.
Yeah,
I think it's important to remember that they're really just masking the symptoms. They're not actually fighting the virus itself.
right. And that's a really good point.
Yeah.
And I think also we should mention that, people often think, oh, I've got a cold, I need an antibiotic.
Right.
But antibiotics are totally useless against colds.
They are because antibiotics target bacteria and colds are caused by viruses.
Exactly.
So it's really important to understand that distinction.
Yeah, and that's why I think this idea of natural remedies is becoming so popular.
I agree.
People are looking for something different.
Yeah, they are.
They're looking for something that maybe is a little gentler on their body,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit more holistic in its approach.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about this natural product that you've been researching.
Okay.
And without mentioning any brand names or anything like that, can you give us just a basic overview of what it is, where it comes from, what makes it unique?
Sure. So this approach uses a natural compound,
Hmm.
and it's derived from plants. And, the focus here is really on purity and trying to harness the power of nature.
Okay, so it's all about really working with the body's natural systems.
Exactly.
So I'm curious, what do you think is driving this growing interest in this kind of natural remedy? Like, why are people so drawn to this?
Well, I think there are a few factors at play. One is sustainability. People are becoming more aware of the impact of their choices on the environment, and they want remedies that are gentle on both their bodies and the planet.
Makes sense.
Another factor is the desire to avoid potential side effects that can come with conventional medications.
Hmm.
A lot of people are sensitive to those or just want to minimize their exposure to pharmaceuticals.
Right.
And then I think there's also this connection to traditional wisdom.
Yeah.
This particular remedy has a long history of use in certain cultures, and I think that resonates with a lot of people.
Absolutely.
Ah,
Yeah, there's something very appealing about that kind of connection to the past and to these ancient practices.
definitely.
Okay, so we've talked about what it is. We've talked about why people are interested in it. But the big question is, does it actually work?
Yeah.
Like, what does the research say about its effectiveness against colds?
Well, the research is ongoing, but there are some promising findings.
Okay.
For example, the source material that you provided cites a study where this natural remedy was compared to a placebo. And the people who used the remedy experienced a significant reduction in cold symptom severity.
Wow. So there's some evidence to suggest that it's not just, a folk remedy.
Right.
There's actually some science to back it up.
Yeah, and the source also talks about how some of the active compounds in this remedy might actually be working to fight the virus.
Interesting. So tell me more about that. How does it actually work?
So one of the key compounds is called compound name.
Okay.
And research suggests that compound name may actually inhibit viral replication
Oh, wow.
by interfering with the virus's ability to multiply.
So it's not just masking the symptoms. It's actually helping your body
Right.
fight off the virus.
It's giving your immune system a boost.
That's amazing.
And in addition to that, it's also thought to have anti-inflammatory properties,
Okay.
which could help explain why it's so effective at soothing those irritated tissues in your nose and throat.
So it's like a double whammy. It's both, attacking the virus and then also helping to calm down that inflammation. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So for those listening who are like, okay, I'm interested in this, tell me, how do I use this stuff?
Right.
What's the typical usage? What's the preparation like?
Well, it really depends on the specific product,
Okay.
but it might involve making a tea or a syrup, or you could take it in capsule form.
Okay.
The source material really emphasizes the importance of following the recommended dosage guidelines.
Of course.
You want to make sure you're taking the right amount.
Right.
And it also mentions that combining this remedy with other natural ingredients like lemon or ginger could actually enhance its effects.
Oh, that's interesting.
So there's some flexibility there.
Yeah, so you can kind of tailor it to your own tastes
Exactly.
and preferences.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so before everybody runs out and starts, brewing up their own concoctions,
Yeah.
are there any precautions that we need to keep in mind?
Absolutely. As with any remedy, natural or otherwise, it's really important to consult with your doctor,
Yep.
especially if you're pregnant or if you have any allergies or pre-existing conditions.
It's always better to be safe than sorry.
Exactly.
This has been so insightful.
It's fascinating stuff. It really is. I'm learning so much from this conversation.
Me too.
So as we kind of wrap up here, what would you say is the biggest takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think the main takeaway is that there's this growing movement towards natural approaches to health, and for good reason.
Yeah.
It's about taking a more holistic view of our bodies,
Mm-hmm.
understanding how these remedies might work, and making informed choices about our health.
And it's really empowering to have those options.
It is.
To not feel like you're stuck with just one way of doing things.
Right.
And it's fascinating to see how traditional wisdom is being backed up by modern science.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, this is something that people have done for centuries.
Right.
There's actually starting to be some scientific evidence to support these practices.
Exactly.
So to recap, we've explored a natural cold remedy
Mm-hmm.
derived from plants. We've discussed its potential benefits.
We've talked about some of the research that supports it,
Mm-hmm.
and we've also emphasized the importance of responsible usage.
Always.
Making sure you're talking to your doctor,
Yes.
being aware of any potential interactions or allergies.
And doing your research.
Exactly. We always encourage critical thinking and doing your own research.
Yeah,
And, this is really just a starting point
it is.
for anyone who's interested in exploring natural health approaches.
There's so much out there.
So we hope this deep dive has been valuable for you.
Yeah.
And until next time, stay curious.
Keep learning.